Research shows that the role of principal is vitally important to student success.
Being a school principal is an incredibly demanding and yet a highly rewarding role.
With a great principal, you're going to build great teachers. With great teachers, you're going to build great students.
Before the new salary schedule came out, my husband and I were seriously considering me moving out of state when my youngest daughter went to college, just to be able to make more money.
Sometimes I did contemplate moving to a different profession or moving out of a school-based administrator because of the pay. The new salary schedule has been life-changing for me. I've had more than a $20,000 increase in my salary.
North Carolina's investment in their school administrators, their assistant principals and principals, has been a great thing for our education system. For many of my colleagues around the state of North Carolina, they've also seen jumps in their salary.
I make more money now than I have in years past, and it has improved my overall quality of life.
With the change, it did encourage me to stay because I'm able to make more, stay where I love, in a school that I love, and in a district that I love as well.
We very much are thankful for the way the state has structured the new scale and the opportunities it gives for our classrooms and our buildings, and that level of respect is very much appreciated. Not only has the scale risen the overall base pay for principals,
it also rewarded principals that were in smaller schools or in smaller districts. I think it helped put smaller districts on a more even playing field.
The younger and mid-career principals are seeing more of a jump in salary, which is definitely a great improvement compared to the past, because in the past there was not that much of an increase as you grew in your younger years as a principal.
it is good to know that principals can receive compensation based on their performance, much like a CEO does. They've established incentives for performance, and it's really that same level of respect that a business leader or CEO would have.
I think their job is as challenging as any CEO of any industry. You think about the stakeholders that they manage, the complexity, the care for children, and the delivery that they have to make.
I think recognizing the growth is an improvement because that was not a factor before.
Now, based on the new schedule, it's more of looking at the number of students in the school, but also as far as whether the school did not make or exceeded growth.
The new principal pay plan in North Carolina is a great step forward. Where it stopped short, and we really need to keep moving forward, is to build in a component around complexity. If we're really going to elevate education here in North Carolina, we have to bring the best to those most challenging places. And those leaders who take on that challenge ought to be rewarded for that difficult duty.
The principal pay schedule really pushes me and our school leadership team to think about what things that we can do to impact the students within our school, to really up our game, try to close the gaps within our subgroups, and really think about what we can do for all students.
So the video that we just saw is a few years old, but the thing that's really interesting about it is that it clearly articulates the commitment of North Carolina to ensuring that we are prioritizing pay for the people that are the leaders in our schools, and doing that in a very unique way that is different than any other state in the entire United States does. Today, I am very fortunate to be joined by my colleague, Dr. Kelly Ann Mudd. Dr. Mudd is the principal at Martin Millennium Academy in Edgecombe County. She's been the principal there for 7 years, and she's been in the principalship for 10 years. She is truly an innovative principal, leading an advanced teaching role school. She is also a graduate of the NELA program, and she was in their second cohort. So many of the things that we're hearing about today as educator innovations are things that Dr. Mudd represents. So Dr. Mudd, we've heard a lot about the importance of principals. We know that behind teachers, principals are the most important factor in a student's success in being able to finish their K-12 experience and be successful as they move into their post-secondary life. And as we said, North Carolina is unique in our approach to principal compensation, and we are the only state that includes a performance element in our principal pay model. Can you share the importance of the innovative pay model in motivating principals and in retaining talent in our high-need schools?
Yes, thank you. Good morning. I'm excited to be here. And yes, I think that the changes that we've seen in the principal pay model really honors and respects the work of the principalship. Because the reality is the principalship is the most rewarding job, but it's also incredibly challenging. And it's challenging in any context, regardless of where you principal across the state. It's also challenging in your first year, I can attest to that. And it's also challenging in your 10th. But as we've heard many times today, and as Maureen, you just shared, the role of principal has a huge impact on student success. It also has a direct impact on teacher success. And for me, like when I think about my teachers, I want the best possible person to stand in front of kids every day. I want the most highly effective teacher, and I don't care if you're highly effective in your first year or your 25th year, that's who I want teaching kids. And so what this principal pay model shows, honoring that performance piece for principals, is it shows a commitment from the state that says we are committed to having the best principal stand in front of schools, regardless of whether you're in that first year or your 10th year as a principal. That what they care about, bottom line, is that we're putting the best possible people in front of kids and the best possible principals leading our schools. I benefited from this personally. In my second year as a principal, we exceeded growth at the school that I served. And over the last 10 years, a majority of those, we've exceeded growth. And I have benefited from being compensated from hard work, for challenging work, because exceeding growth does not happen by chance. It happens through hard work, and it takes a principal who is going to set the vision for what it looks like to reach and exceed that goal, to execute the plan to do that, and support up the people in the building and keep us on track and create those guardrails to make sure that we are on track to do that. And again, it doesn't happen by chance, and certainly from a longevity point and a recruitment point, it makes a difference when your work is, again, respected and honored by the state, and that you're compensated to do so. I'll be very transparent in saying, when I think about what might be after the principalship, in the past, certainly the principal pay, because I expect that we exceed growth every year. It's a non-negotiable for me. And so the pay has become a factor and has definitely been a factor in me staying for 10 years. It motivates me to want to set that goal and make it a non-negotiable, and not just for me and for my pay, but ultimately that's for kids and that's for teachers. Like when teachers are exceeding growth and kids are exceeding growth and the principal is able to celebrate that with their staff and their community, that's huge. And then certainly as a recruitment tool, as a young principal, it was encouraging to say that I have that skill set and I can execute it again. I don't care if whoever is the best person for kids in schools, do it in your first year, do it in your 10th year, do it in your 25th year, but just do it at extremely high level. So.
Thank you. I really loved how you emphasized that it doesn't happen by chance. And I think that's something we also have heard in the other ed talks we had this morning, was that none of this happens by chance, right? It happens through intentional work and making sure that we're prioritizing what our students need by making sure we have the right adults with them in their school buildings to give them all the educational experiences they need to be successful. In the video, we heard about an idea that's complexity pay. And that is a very innovative idea and something that, in addition to North Carolina being unique in our approach to the way we compensate principals, by including the performance pay, complexity pay goes a step further than that. Can you explain the nuances of the complexity of the principalship and how this complexity encompasses more than just enrollment and growth?
Sure. So I think while the current principal pay certainly honors, like I said, honors and respects that work of what it means to exceed growth and to be a highly effective principal in a highly effective school, each school is individualized. The needs that we have at each school and that journey and that path to exceeding growth looks different at every individual school. I think the best way at like very basic foundational level to explain complexity, regardless of context, regardless of where this school is located, if you have a high school of 500 students and you have an elementary school of 500 students, principling a high school is more complex than principling an elementary school. Now I want to be very clear, that is not a knock on any elementary principal because it comes with its own unique challenges for sure. My school is a K-8 school, so I get a little bit of all of that. But just pure time on the clock. When you think about extracurriculars at a high school, when you think about graduations, when you think about you are responsible for kids who drive a car to your campus, just that's more, being a principal at a high school is differently complex than elementary. So just looking at enrollment doesn't create an even playing field. Because again, that elementary school of 500 and that high school it comes with different challenges and different needs. And so I think that's at the most like basic level, adding another layer of complexity. And there are multiple layers that could impact a complexity measure. One that's one that's very close to home for me is I think when we start talking about schools that have a high percentage of students who qualify for free and reduced lunch, and I'm very passionate about our rural schools and some of our high poverty communities. Leading a school in a high poverty community comes with its own set of challenges. What we know about students in our community, in my community, is they come with different traumas to school. They bring different needs, from healthcare needs, food insecurity needs, that ACE score and trauma in the home. And so yes, there's a 600, let's just say a 600 student middle school in one community, a 600 student middle school in another with high needs, free and reduced lunch at 80% versus maybe free and reduced lunch at 20%. We both can exceed growth. Both principals in those schools can do their part and be a highly effective principal, but the hurdles that are along that pathway, the roadblocks and the rocks and the boulders that are in that pathway for the school that has a more complex student body in terms of poverty and socioeconomics, that adds another layer. And so I think, again, the state has an opportunity to acknowledge, respect, and honor the work that goes into those two different schools. Both are challenging. Principling anywhere is not an easy road and not for the faint of heart, but it is different and differently complex. I also think what this creates an opportunity for is to recruit our most highly effective principals into our most high need schools, because the higher the complexity, the higher that hopefully maybe pay will honor that complexity. And then we're saying, hey, the best of the best, you're going to be compensated for the hard work that goes in this more complex school. So I could talk about it all day.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Mudd. Dr. Mudd will be in our pipeline to the principal breakout room this afternoon. So if you'd like to learn more about her story or talk to her more, just to learn more about what principal complexity is and how her school has operated and how she has benefited from the growth model, be sure to check out that breakout room. Thank you so much, Dr. Mudd.